I always find the start of spring, and especially April, such a mix of emotions. It's exciting to see the garden wake up. Fresh shoots, spring blooms, weeds, birds are getting busier, and everything starts to feel alive. But at the same time, it can also be a bit overwhelming. There are so many jobs to do: tidying borders, sowing seeds, weeding. And sometimes I honestly don't know where to start. But that's the life of a gardener. So with one job at a time, we'll hopefully achieve our goals. So join us for a few jobs that we can get done this month. In early April, I make sure all my plant supports are in place. I craft them from hazel and willow, harvested from our own land, from sturdy peony supports to rose and clematis wigwams. Annuals may need supports added later, but I like to have all the semi-permanent structures completed now. Once those structures are in place, it's important to tie in the plants. Here I'm tying in a climbing rose with soft twine, but I have some clematis that will need doing too. Moving on, now is a great time to cut back your buddleia. I start by removing the vast majority of last year's growth, so I can clearly see what I'm doing. The next stage is to cut it back to the desired height. Here I'm keeping it quite tall, as it sits towards the back of the border. The basic principle is to leave a couple of shoots on each branch, acting as an insurance policy in case we get a harsh frost, so hopefully at least one of the new shoots will survive. The offcuts then either go onto the compost heap or into the dead hedge. Sweet peas are one of those absolute must-haves for both the veg garden and the flower garden. Who can resist the heady perfume of freshly picked sweet peas filling your home? As a hardy annual, now is the perfect time to get them planted out in the garden. They'll need a suitable support to grow up, and here I've made a simple wigwam for them in the veg garden. Sweet peas are quite hungry plants, so I make sure to add plenty of compost into the planting hole, mixing it well into the soil. Once they're planted, firm them in gently, and after completing the wigwam, give them a really good drink. After they've settled in and start putting on growth, I'll tie them in as needed. A little trick for getting even more blooms is to feed them every week or 10 days. I like to use comfrey tea, which I make from plants grown here in the garden. I like to start sowing my carrots in April. I tend to do one row at a time, which helps give me a staggered harvest of young, tender roots right through the season. Carrots are always better sown direct into the ground. The first thing to do is prepare the bed. Carrots like a sunny sight, and it's important to clear the bed of any big lumps and stones, as these can lead to those funny and sometimes rather rude-looking carrots. Once the ground is prepared, I use a length of wood, pressing it down on its edge to create a nice straight trench. From there, I sow the seed thinly along the row before covering it over lightly with soil. A lot of people complain about patchy germination, but the key really is moisture and not letting the row dry out. So once they're sown, give them a really good watering and make sure they stay consistently damp. I also like to use an old gardener's trick, placing a length of wood over the row. As well as protecting it, this helps keep the soil beneath moist, which really increases the chances of good germination. Keep checking the row regularly, and as soon as you start to see the seedlings appear, lift the wood away. At that point, I'll simply repeat the process and start a new row. I continue sowing in this way, making sure I have a continuous supply of fresh, young roots to harvest. Try to stay away from those plug plants you sometimes see in the garden center. They'll never really thrive in the same way as those grown from seed, and I dread to think what the price per carrot would be if you worked it out. Oh, and don't forget to label things. Last year, I collected and saved the seed from some of my echinopsis flowers, and it's always such a satisfying feeling to see them come full circle, as well as saving us money. Last month I sowed them, and now it's time to prick them out into their own pots. Like all seedlings, they need to be handled with great care at this stage. First, I use my dibber to gently loosen each seedling in the tray, which makes the whole process much easier and helps avoid disturbing the roots too much. Then, carefully tease each one out, always lifting by the leaves and never by the stem, as the stem is incredibly delicate and can be damaged very easily. Once they're in their new home, I gently firm them in, just enough to support them, but not too much, as watering them afterwards will help settle the compost naturally around the roots. Then it's off to the seedling bench, where they can continue to grow on strong and healthy. And again, don't forget to label.
Don't forget to keep sowing your lettuce seeds. Even if you haven't started yet, now's the perfect time to get going. I like to sieve my compost, which is just regular multi-purpose. The larger bits that are left behind certainly don't go to waste. They just get added back into the garden beds. Then, it's just a case of sowing a few seeds, maybe 10 or 15. There's no need to be too precise. Just repeat this every couple of weeks and you'll have plenty of fresh, tender leaves to harvest. The trick with lettuce is to sow little and often. Once sown, lightly cover the seeds, then place the pot in a shallow tray of water for about 20 minutes, or until the top of the compost darkens with moisture. After that, pop it on a windowsill or in a propagator until the seeds germinate. We'll be back later this month sharing some more gardening jobs, so please like and subscribe as it would be greatly appreciated. And remember, whatever you are doing, get out and enjoy your garden.